Very warm welcome to you all, and thank you for showing an interest in the art trail. And I hope this morning we're going to just give you a little bit of a sense of what we're about and why we're here and how we've come to this point, and then how we're going to go forward. If you're wondering about the rustling sound, that's the making that's going on at the back. And what we're really hoping is that this will launch a kind of creative endeavour amongst all the groups and the different people and different places in the village, so that we kind of have some fun, we make some colour in the world, and we bring people together. So creativity is not something you have to be qualified at. This morning at Breakfast Church we did some prayers using some glow sticks, and in fact you can create art out of anything. So please don't be put off if you don't feel that you are massively artistic. It's just it's about creativity in its widest form, I suppose. So what is the big idea? The big idea came about as you will probably know, we used to run the community cafe, and when we had to close that in the late spring, we did a consultation with all the people that we could get feedback from at the end of the cafe, and then online we also did a survey to see what people wanted to do and wanted us to be involved with. And the second most popular choice of activities was something creative. That came out really high up. And another thing that came up really high was bringing the groups in the village together. So obviously you're all here representing those different groups. So what I'm going to do is ask you to introduce yourselves as to in what capacity you're here, because there are a lot of groups and organisations in the village. So we'll just pause at that moment, and if we can go round the room and just offer a little explanation of who you are and what hat you're wearing, as it were, to be here. Is that okay? Do you want to start? Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about A to Better and our kind of partnership working as we go forward. So we got to this feedback, and we heard that people wanted something creative that would bring people together, and that's what Cringleford Hub is about. We're about bringing people together across the whole of the village, and also in order to kind of go a bit deeper in life, to create some space for reflection and to learn from one another, to kind of grow together, as it were. So art and creativity has a really great way of doing that with us. So that's what we're about. So what we're planning is that we will have a weekend in May, the 6th and the 7th of May, where the creativity will be on display all around the neighbourhood, and that we'll have a trail for people to explore all the creative activity that's been going on, and that we'll hopefully also run some community events around that, so that it will be a kind of a festival, if you like, for Cringleford in the spring, based around this kind of creativity. And I suppose the nearest thing you might have in your mind to this is Go-Go Dragons. Of course, that's got an enormous budget and a much bigger scale. So please don't panic that we're thinking of going to do something on quite that scale. But you'll get the idea that it's about different ways of, in fact, they're using the same template, aren't they, with the same dragon or the same gorilla or whatever shape, and created in different ways. Go and find them. There's a map to help you find them all, and that kind of sense of a sort of fiesta, I suppose, of creativity. So that's kind of what we're talking about, but on obviously a neighbourhood scale. And because there's a lot of time between now and the spring, but also because we feel like it's actually a great opportunity to bring people together in the meantime and to get creative together, we've booked 3 workshops through the winter and early spring. So there'll be one in January, which will be at the Willow Centre. There's one in February at St Peter's Church Hall, and one back here again in the community area of the school in March. Now, hopefully you can see from that we're trying to be in all parts of the village when we're doing these workshops, and we're using all the different, lots of the different spaces to kind of bring everybody together. Very warm welcome together. So we'll be doing some activities, a bit like what we've got at the back here today, which is just a sort of random junk modelling approach to creativity. There'll be lots of different activities for people just to get their kind of creative juices flowing, but also hopefully to meet people that you wouldn't otherwise meet and work alongside somebody on the table that you haven't met before and hear about what their group is up to, and you can tell them what your group is up to and that kind of thing. So hopefully some nice blending opportunities in these workshops. In some of them, we haven't quite figured out which, but we are going to do a big collaborative piece of art so that everybody who's there on the day creates something together, and it's on a bigger scale. So that's kind of exciting, but still very much in the planning stages. But that's our kind of vision, is to try and do a variety of things with those workshops as well. So we've got the weekend and the workshops in between that. And we have got form in this, in that back in October 2013, we ran a community art day. We had no budget, so we asked for everybody to contribute recycled materials. So we had picture frames and buttons and keys and ribbons and wool and art, materials of all sorts. And we came again in this space and we created loads of art. And for about 2 years probably, wasn't it? It decorated this area out here.
Those are still up, aren't
Yes, those are still up. You'll see those. And we created those with a local artist who did this sort of thing. And then the children and the people that came on the day created. So you'll see those on the wall as you leave, if they are still there. So we had over 90 people involved in that day. And again, young and old from all parts of the village. So that's our kind of, we've got form. We've got some experience of doing some creative work together. Now, you might have seen our wheels around the place. There's one in the doctor's surgery, there's one in the church, and there's one just outside the school. And that was to hopefully draw people in and get people intrigued about what we're doing. So why are we doing it? We want to bring the groups together, as I've said. We want to break down the thing that all these things are happening in our village, and yet we don't necessarily know what each other's doing. Maybe we want to bring the footballers together with the Horticultural Society, as long as they don't trample on your flowers, I suppose. Or, to bring Memory Cafe and the toddler group together, for example. How wonderful those kind of relationships could actually be, to kind of draw people together, even if it's just for that weekend, but hopefully to build further on that after the weekend. And you know what? We just want to do some things that promote community spirit, something that grows community in this place. And also bring some colour to the neighbourhood. Have some fun. Make a splash. Make something a bit different happen. Because in that moment, we kind of come together, don't we? It's a bit like the dragons and the things around Norwich. They just bring a smile to your face when you see them. So it's just something that brings colour in. And as I said, it's just something that might provoke us to think and go a bit deeper in life and reflect about who we are and kind of what art does to help us do that. Now, we after this feedback in the late spring, we got together with Tenjay, who's here today, and is also on our screen. We met, and Aitabetta, as Tenjay said, is about sustainable transport and travel around particularly areas of new housing. So you work in Wyndham, don't you? And where else?
16 sites across Norfolk.
Okay, 16 sites across Norfolk, yeah. But it's about trying to, again, think about sustainable travel, walking, cycling, reducing single occupant car journeys. I can't even say it properly. But so it's sort of an idea about sustainability in areas like Roundhouse Park and other new housing developments. And we started working collaboratively. We've had some great fun, haven't we? We had a cycling day, family cycling day down at the Rec in the summer. We did a kind of treasure trail, didn't we, around, was there another event? Oh, and you did also a sort of guided cycle rides, didn't you? So we worked together over the summer, and it's been great fun, and it's great to collaborate. And one of their ideas was, I think, we've got this idea for like a trail. And I said, well, funny you should say that, because we've got an idea for a trail as well. So we're working together, because it's always better to do things together when you can, isn't it? So we're trying to collaborate as much as we can. And it is a good fit, this idea about sustainable travel. We're going to get people walking or cycling or pushing buggies or pushing their wheelchairs around the village, aren't we? We're going to be walking. We're going to be introducing people to, hopefully, the footpaths and encouraging them to travel to the far-flung corners of Brettingham Avenue and the far-flung corners of Dragonfly Lane, to kind of get people moving around the village and exploring their neighbourhood on foot or on bikes. And, about building community. And because of that collaboration, we have come up with the theme of wheels. that's self-evident, isn't it? I don't need to explain why we came up with the idea of wheels. But one of the things that we realised about wheels is that they're really dynamic. There's a real movement and kind of, it takes you places. So there's something quite interesting in that theme about kind of travel and about movement, about flow and dynamic kind of stuff. But also they're incredibly familiar. They're a shape and an expression of something that we all kind of understand and we get. So it kind of works in that kind of, there's lots in there that we can unpack. They're really available. You've seen the wheels that we've decorated. That came about because we called up Tenjay and said, could you get hold of some old wheels? And then Peter, her colleague, dropped off a load of old bike wheels, and that's what we've decorated. So they're sort of available. They're around. They're also very simple, the shape. I mean, in a sense, this is what we made this morning with Breakfast Church. But it's a very simple shape, isn't it, a wheel? Now, we've got some wheel making at the back. Do you want to lift them up?
Not going there.
Yeah, there we go. That's fantastic. Oh, well done. There's a brilliant one from Kitty as well there. Thank you, Kitty, for lifting that up. So, in essence, it's a simple shape. It's something we can all do something with. But it's also historical. So for those that are kind of coming at this from a sort of, where's our history? There's water wheels. There's a water wheel in Cringleford. Is it still there, or is that a historical thing? I'm not sure. It's not there anymore, but there used to be. But in the sense of that kind of, it links us back to our history as well. So there's also that sense of that and a futuristic element as well. So in the summer, Tenjay, you ran a competition at one of our events to get children to imagine how they would travel to school in the future, or kind of a futuristic way to travel. So again, it's quite an inspiring thing, even if it's very simple. So it feels like a really useful kind of theme to have. And also, it's accessible. So we didn't want this to just be about fit and healthy people who can get on their bikes. So we're trying to create, a community spirit that's accessible to everybody. Oops. There we go. Ah, yes, this is my lovely animation. I'd forgotten what was going to happen next. So how have we got here? I've already shared with you that we began with a kind of consultation that was to think about what people wanted to do after the cafe had closed and what we should be focusing on. And so we had 55 people responded to the Facebook, the online poll. And as I say, these choices that people voted for was something creative and something that brought everyone together. And we were working with A to Better. And then that came up with the theme of wheels. Now, so far, what we've done is we've had 3 planning meetings, and that's been to begin to think about the logistics and about how we can let people know and get people excited about the idea and come on board, and also beginning that process of pooling creative ideas. And that's created about 12 members of a team, which we're calling the activities team. That's our kind of team. Always room for more people. We'd love you to join in with that if you've got the time to contribute in the wider sense to it, but obviously appreciate that you're all here representing your groups, so you might feel that you've got plenty on your plate, and all your hats might take up quite a lot of time already. And so we've had 3 wheel decorators, 1 logo designer, 1 workshop planner so far, and 3 bakers and 3 servers this week to create all the lovely food that's out there. Please eat some on your way out. And so it's already drawing more volunteers. It's giving opportunities for people. Ruby, who is at the back there, is one of our Duke of Edinburgh volunteers and who helps with serving and doing various things with us. So it's creating already some volunteer opportunities. So that's where we are so far. But what's next for us? Well, today is part of this, of course, because we want to start by spreading the word and also getting people inspired and interested and getting some ideas of their own whirring, going back to their committees to think about that, about how they can get involved. So that's where we need to head next. So what I'm asking from you today is that you'll share the idea with the group that you come to represent, or many of the groups that you've come to represent, and also with your friends and your neighbours, because actually, wouldn't this be wonderful if a number of households down one street made an installation together and displayed it in one of their front gardens? It doesn't have to be an organised group that does the activity. Maybe it's a few neighbours that could do it together. And maybe the school and parents might be able to work so that some of the art goes out into the community, isn't just in the school. So we want, and if you're an individual and you want to join in as well, we want people to be able to access this from all different angles, really. And what we really need you to do is start planning in your groups, going back to your committee groups and having a think about how you might want to be involved, but also letting us know, because what we're really aware of, and actually came out of our Wednesday meeting very strongly, is that we want to kind of make sure we're all joined up. We know what's happening and we can kind of create a story, a flow between the different art installations so that it feels like it's all part of one thing. And so that's why we need you to keep us in the loop, as it were, about what you're planning and where you might be planning or what your thinking is. You might not get as far as planning just yet, but what your thoughts are. And so keeping in touch with us. And you can do that in a number of ways. You can keep in touch by signing up to receive updates. And obviously, you've come here from an email invitation. But if you are really keen to keep involved, there's a sign-up sheet on the table out there that you can just jot down your name and your what group you're representing and give us your permission to email you about this, because that will help us just to make sure we keep in the loop. But also, we want you to contribute ideas to us. So there are some post-it notes over in the corner, and there's also a big whiteboard up there if we want to. So at the end, if you've got some ideas you want to contribute or leave behind, or some thoughts that you have when you go home, because some of us process these things later, don't we, and think, oh, that might be something. Please do email. We want this to be a kind of collaborative thing, so keep contributing ideas and letting us know your thoughts about things. But also you can, as I say, join our activities team and help grow the idea. So kind of come along and be part of that kind of, a bit more of the planning around the bigger picture of how we make it all come together. I promise I won't make you lie down on the floor on your back. It's just a photo I liked. I thought people might think it was a joining ritual for the activities team or something. It's not. I'm not going to make you do that, no, I promise. It did look like a wheel, actually, didn't it? I didn't think of that. The wheel is obviously seeping into my consciousness. I didn't even notice. Maybe you are on your own, or maybe somebody you know is on their own and can't join Knit and Natter because they're at work or whatever it is. No, it's not Knit and Natter. Crafty Corner. Crafty Corner, yeah. So maybe you work the day that Crafty Corner's on and you can't do it. Well, what we're going to try and do is also create a group. We used to have a stitch group of our own that used to run in an evening at people's homes. So we're going to try and restart that we've got quite a number of sort of single parents who are kind of keen to get together and do some crafting stuff. So maybe they're going to contribute. And then you can join our culture club and create something if you're on your own, or if you know someone that's on their own and wants to join in. And maybe you don't feel creative. 2 of our volunteers that came and helped on Wednesday night to help serving the food, they're really committed to this idea, but they don't want to do anything arty. And that's absolutely fine. They're actually doing themselves down because they are pretty creative, but they really don't want to do anything arty. So what they're doing is going, we'll help with all the logistics. We'll help with the, working out hospitality, making sure things work, doing the printing. There's lots to do around the edge that is not creative. So please don't think, oh, I'm not really creative. This isn't for me. Please do think, well, there's other ways to be involved in creating a really fun family community event to make it enjoyable and refreshing. So I'm going to finish there. That's my kind of presentation to you. And what I'm really interested now is your thoughts. Now, again, appreciate that sometimes people are people that go home and think about things afterwards. So don't feel pressurised to contribute something, but maybe you've got questions or ideas that are coming to mind, or things that are puzzling you, or things that are exciting you. So please feel free to share those, and we'll